Due to the nature of this episode, I have been asked to put a content explicit warning. Content of this episode may not be suitable for those under the age of 18, so listener discretion is advised. It's a Dungeons & Dragons podcast that'll really make you think. We're spicing up the rules, mashing up the homebrews, and stirring up the debates. Add a little touch of our own, and you have Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's recipes for everything. With your host, the Pirate Captain. It's not because I took on an entire ship by myself and walked away unscathed just off good looks alone. Chef Bolgg.
I have in my rules for the original AG, don't be a dick.
And Loke the Bard.
Lock the Bard bans all bards from his campaign. That wouldn't go over very well.
And without further ado, here are your hosts. Well, that be right. We're back for a special Valentine's Day episode. We've got a special guest. As always, I've got me bestest buddies with me, Loke the Bard.
Hey, how's it going?
And, of course, Chef Bolgg himself.
Hey!
Oh, boy. But
I'm
our
excited.
special guest, we're going to get to him here in a moment. I want to make sure that we're plugging out something. You guys are going to go be at a special location this weekend, aren't you? Yeah. I hear we're going to send you guys over to the Phoenix Emporium. You guys going to hang out there. Maybe meet some of the wannabe fans and the people that want to kill the pirate captain. Probably.
More of them?
More, yeah, I
More of
know.
them?
There's a whole boat, and I want to, actually, you know what? I want to hold off on the boat talk because I have Saturday, May 19th, though. We're going to be over at Phoenix Emporium. They've got a big D&D event. We're going to be playing D&D over there with you guys. So if you're listening to this, make sure you come out and look at it for us. By the way, come to our Facebook page. Make sure you throw us out a mention there on Facebook. It's fun. We will respond to you, or you can email us, Chef Bolgg, or it's not Chef Bolgg. I've done that again. See, I'm doing it. It's bolgandpc@gmail.com. Email us and have us a good time. But now, on to our special guest, a person that we've talked about in the past with his luxurious hair and his tireless first mate efforts, you know, co-founder of the Dick Face Pirates, Baka!
Oh, she's pronounced that so wonderfully. Not everyone gets it.
This is our buddy Baka. He is like I said, we've told the story, the founding of the Dick Face Pirates, and this is the co-founder of the Dick Face Pirates, and we'll get into that after a bit. But go ahead, Baka, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, man. There's so much to tell. All the best of things.
And?
Who is the character of Baka and why was he your favorite? How's that?
That's much better. Thank you. So,
You leave it open-ended, and the chicken can't even figure it out.
it can. It's just small bird brain. You can only ask so much. So, I love a character that fills its role really well. And the great thing about Baka was a great grappling barbarian Aarakocra that would just run out to the front lines, snatch things up, and bring it back to the party to be murder hoboed right away. And did a great job at it.
Such a good job that you had to have rules implemented on you and your grappling.
Yes, it inspired a permanent rule change for all future campaigns. He was so good at it. And just a really fun character to role play.
For those interested to know, there are not a lot of proficient in athletics or acrobatics monsters. So and that's what you use for grapple checks and grapple, and without those skills,
We use our words here.
Yeah, they don't get a bonus.
Yeah, pretty much once I got a hold of something, it didn't get away. I think there were two things the entire campaign that escaped a grapple check. That was it.
So why didn't you put like more slimes and things that in that nature into the campaign?
What fun is that?
You
you want to fight big, strong orcs,
Gelatinous
and-
cubes,
yeah.
slimes. Look, I've played enough of Dragon Quest to know you that slimes are good. Metal slimes,
Just
great
start,
way to
yeah.
farm
Metal
experience.
slimes, yeah, that's how you do it.
So, yeah, we have our buddy Baka, and that's how you pronounce his name. In fact, it's become like a running gag in the entire group. That's how everybody refers to you now.
It's
so
true.
we are glad to have you. This is our special Valentine's Day. It's a short episode. We're going to talk about a little bit about sex, love, and D&D. And you can't really talk about sex and love without the penis. And that leads into, I want you to tell your side, because the world has heard my side. You've listened into the intro, and I talk about taking on an entire boat with nothing but just good looks alone.
It's pretty much what happened.
Yeah. You guys have heard my story and how I tell the tale of the mighty founding of the greatest pirates to ever roam the... how many seas are in there, Loke?
Quite a few.
Okay. Thanks for being very clerical on that one. So, all right, Bacall, tell me, how did the Dick-Face Pirates come to be?
What a great tale. One of my favorite stories to tell.
The greatest story.
The greatest story. So I came in at the very tail end of this campaign. I actually think this was the last session and the only one I made it to. I'm pretty sure.
Probably something like that.
I think so. So as we're gearing up to the end, we go, storm the last fortress. And all the party's loot and weapons were in a bag of holding when we got in there. So
good place for them.
Great place for them. Because now, we all walk in unarmed. No threat there. So naturally, negotiations break down in the throne room. And
I thought I did a really good job negotiating.
You really tried.
I did my best.
They weren't hearing it though.
You'd have thought it was fake news. It's what it was.
Exactly what it was. So our favorite guard,
Greg,
good old Greg,
the guard.
Greg.
Wasn't even his name either. That was the worst part about it. I was like, "You're Greg now."
He was Greg forever. So we kept calling out Greg to help us. We're like, "Listen, man, we know you got terrible benefits trying to take care of those kids at the house. Not even he could be pulled to our side." So the bag of holding was dumped out with the entire loot from the entire campaign dumping out and all of our weapons. So the fight ensued, and then things moved outside, at which point we went and grabbed good old Greg, who we left unconscious. We were sure to state, finish him off with that good non-lethal melee damage, stuffed all the loot in the guy's pants, and made off with him, ran out of there. Where you promptly ditched me and climbed out over the wall as the rogue that you were.
I was securing the exit.
I was trying to kill the party, so
That too. I knew he wasn't going to get far. I had Greg, who had all the loot. So when everything is said and done, we made it out to the harbor, where I made it up to the ship just in time to see you challenge the captain one-on-one with your 1 hit point remaining from the fight.
So those of you who don't know, swashbucklers, the greatest rogue of them all, hands down. They use charisma modifier, and it actually goes into their AC, making them nigh untouchable. I'm waiting for him to be the rules lawyer that I know he
I'm
is.
almost positive that's not a thing.
Hold on. Well, go on and finish telling your story while I look this up.
So as he challenges the captain, who is also a swashbuckling rogue, to a one-on-one duel, fells him, and we were a little upset at that point as we set sail that Greg wasn't initially on our side. So we tattooed a dick on his face while he was still unconscious as we sailed away from the port in this burning city. And, after a long career of pirating, when we retired, it was only fitting that our right-hand man, Greg, take over. And if the captain has to have a dick on his face, at that point, everybody's got to go ahead and get a dick on their face. And the Dick-Face Pirates were born.
I'm still looking for it, but I know there's something that makes it Master lets you play. I don't know. I don't remember, but I know it's off of my roguish good looks is why I won that fight.
You get some kind of extra persuasion proficiencies or something that's not great.
No,
there is a defensive feature. I just can't.
I'm looking at it, and I think it's Panache, but I'd have to look. It's like a huge paragraph that I don't feel like reading it because that takes away from the story.
Okay.
But it's worth looking up. I love the swashbuckler rogue. They are the most brilliant rogues of all because you know what? Why stab something good when you can just stab something pretty? It's never a better word said by somebody with a low wisdom modifier. But anyway, sex, love, and D&D. We've all had relationships in this game. We all have personal relationships. In fact, actually, all of us have fit some sort of category. We have a divorcee, a married guy with no children, a married guy with children, and then there's, the pirate captain.
Forever bachelor.
Yeah. So we always sit here and we think about different relationships that we have with characters and stuff like that. But how do you do that? How do you imagine playing married couples or something that's different than what you are? Are you a lifelong bachelor with your characters, or are you somebody that has a family that you're trying to get back to, Greg? Which, given the option, he could have always gone back after we retired. He chose not to. We're not the bad guys. We were actually creating jobs. All right, whole pirate fleet of us.
That's true.
So, but what do you guys do usually when you guys are creating your character backstory? how do you guys deal with relationships in that?
Well, in our group, it's also, I mean, there's a lot of existing relationships. We've got a couple married couples who play with us.
Yeah.
They're married in real life. And
Father-daughter relationships,
daughters,
father-son relationships. Yeah.
And, you know, it's always interesting. In one of our current campaigns, a husband and wife are playing brother and sister in the campaign.
Yeah.
Completely different type of relationship.
That's got to be awkward, like when they go home at night and it's time to get a little hot and heavy, and they're like, yeah, maybe not tonight. I'm still kind of reeling from the campaign.
I watched my brother almost die earlier. It's just not happening.
I
right
am
now.
Big Brother. Oh God, that's worse.
Oh, but what say ye, Bolgg?
Well, actually, in the campaign currently, we're playing with one of our other DMs, not with Loke. My wife and I are married in game, but as a lesbian couple, one is asexual, the other is a hypersexual free love type. And
Can you guess which one's which, folks?
You'd
Actually-
probably guess wrong.
You probably guessed wrong. I am the asexual in this one.
Mhm.
Oh, I was gonna guess your wife all day being the sexual deviant.
But
Like you don't discredit the pirate captain. Low wisdom score, high intelligence.
But when it comes to the relationships in game, I actually try to avoid PC relationships. NPC, sure, you can always have an NPC wife in game because that raises the stakes for the DM. Now suddenly they have somebody they can target, not necessarily fridge them. Which, if you're not familiar with the term, Green Lantern wife made entirely just to be put in a fridge and be discovered later. Not a good trope. But they can be used as a source of drama in the right context. So I'm all for relationships. Either you can do it between PCs. It's not something I like to usually tackle, but NPCs definitely is a good thing to do.
Well, in having those relationships, one with the NPC or with other PC groups, they do add to the drama of the game. You know, if you have a wife, son, daughter in the village that you need to protect when the big bad guy comes attacking the village, there's a lot more at stake than just big bad guys attacking random village. So having those relationships there add drama and stakes to the events.
Mm-hmm.
So you as the DM, how do you deal with these relationships that the players are going to now generate maybe with your NPCs? Because guess who's got to role play that when, Bolgg over there finds love with that lusty barbarian at the church?
I'm not a big overacting. we'll do
Tell everybody your favorite voice for every dwarf ever, whether it be male or female.
Oh, yeah. Every dwarf ever it talks like Macho Man. I don't do the Scottish dwarfs like a lot of people, but that's another story. When you do these relationship scenes, the movies have like the trope of the boots on the floor scene. That they just had some, wild shenanigans, but what you get in the camera shot is just the boot, the empty boots. The guy put his boots back on in the morning. You don't get a big porno scene. And that's more the way I DM it. I'm not going to,
You're taking the fun out of all of this.
Yes.
You'll purposely torture characters, but you won't actually, let them make. You won't do the love making scenes.
I'll let them have the love making. It's just I'm not going to play by play it.
I want to see a play by play.
You roll your performance check, and if you did,
oh,
good,
it's a
you do
performance. All right, I got a question for you. Now that's actually a good question. What kind of check is a sex check? Is it a performance, athletics, acrobatics? Is it a Arcana check?
Performance for
Look, EDDs, it's a thing, erectile dysfunction. You might need a little help, all right? So let's get some Arcana in there to make sure you're working.
You got to keep things magical in
What
there.
kind of check is it?
All
y'all got quiet.
I go with performance. That's the charisma. That's the make sure they like it. Persuasion, all those kind of things all come from
but
that same.
if you don't have good dexterity, you might miss.
Well, that's if you want to get into it, I have the Church of Clay, which is the Church of Eroticism, and if you want to be with the cleric has to make a series of rolls: performance, athletics, acrobatics, and sleight of hand.
Why sleight of hand? I understand why sleight of hand, but why sleight of hand?
Slide of hand. There you go.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
There's got to be a con save in there somewhere.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. You know,
endurance.
does she?
It's
That's
he or she
what are
gonna
you
choke?
What are you checking for? Are you checking how much the people enjoyed it? That's why it's a performance check. You're asking,
What am I going to get a round of applause after I finish the action? It's like a golf clap.
How long did this take? Would be more of a constitution save.
There you go.
Yeah, an endurance check. If you're putting on a show on stage, it's a different.
There you go. I mean, if
Different
you're standing
check.
up against the wall, there's probably, athletics or strength check in there somewhere. All depends how you're playing the game.
This is why I want the this is why I want the Pathfinder skill abilities and stuff back, because then I can add like dungeoneering sex check.
Well,
That one's going to involve a lot of leather and whips.
yeah, and in older editions, you had the seduction checks and the, checks where you're going after you could seduce the freaking dragon. And I mean,
So why can't we
Why slay the
persuasion? Why
dragon?
can't I
You can
instead
lay
of
the dragon.
performance? Why can't I use persuasion to persuade her into thinking that she got off?
well, you after you're done, if you did a bad job, you could always use the persuasion to convince her you didn't.
There's always modify memory.
That works too.
What's the spell that I used that one time got me a +3 buckler because I was like, yeah, you're just gonna loan this to me for like the rest of the campaign.
There was no spell. You just told him I'll give it back later. And left with it.
No, there's like a
No,
persuasion spell.
He charmed.
Did he charm
Yeah, it
him?
was a charm spell.
Yeah.
I don't remember which charm
You
spell.
couldn't use it to do. You couldn't make them like talk themselves to death, but I could like. It was like a convincing kind of spell. It's like, oh hey, by
Well,
the
it was
way,
like command or one.
Right.
It was one of those spells where it was they couldn't do anything to harm themselves, but they could go ahead and anything that they would feasibly do in a real scenario, or if there was in the realm of possibility, you could convince them to do it.
I'll find the spell at some point and post it out somewhere if somebody has a big question about it. It was a fun spell because it was. I wasn't trying to do anything. Like the price of that shield was ridiculous, and no matter how much of my bardish charisma, as much as I hate being a bard, I love being a bard. But I just couldn't get it down. I was like, well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you just loan this to me, and I'll bring it back.
Yeah, and we had talked about in the past that persuasion is not a charm. It's not a magic spell that's going to make somebody do something. You could be the most persuasive, most charismatic person out there. Some things you're just not going to be able to convince somebody who's dead set against it. And that was one of those cases. And then when you add in the magic on top of that, then it does become that special case where you can do the impossible. Although a lot of the 5e charm type stuff has been watered down, where as soon as the spell ends, some of them, a minute later, they right away know they were charmed and taken advantage of and get angry and all that. So
I want to see you guys. I'm looking through the skills list right now. You have athletics, acrobatics, sleight of hand, stealth, arcana, history, investigation, nature, religion, animal handling, insight, medicine, perception, survival, deception, intimidation, performance, persuasion. I want to see you guys. I'm going to pick a couple of these that I think would be funny. I want y'all to argue how you could turn this into a either a sex or love check. And we're going to start off easy. I want to see survival. How are you going to turn survival into a sex or love check?
sex with a succubus.
Yep.
Ooh, there you go.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
See, that's why I said I was going to start easy. But now we're going to kind of like pick it up. Animal handling?
Furry love.
All the lichen types out there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Lycanthropes.
Just lycanthropes. You're taking out the minotaurs and everything, the centaurs and
Tabaxi.
tabaxi.
Yeah.
Tabaxi.
The arakoa, and what's everybody's favorite trap checking bird? Kenku.
Good old Kenku.
The Kenku. Medicine's easy too. There was another one I was looking at. I was like, man, this is religion.
Mm-hmm.
Explain religion as a sex check in D&D.
Catholic girls.
Your body is a temple.
There you go.
I'm trying to what? So your body's a temple. Come on, there. You're gonna have to elaborate a little bit more on that one, Bolgg.
I mean,
But I don't have to elaborate on Catholic girls.
It's
automatically understood.
There is a
knee-high socks, man. Knee-high socks.
there is a category of pornography out there just called ass worship. I'm just saying. Some people might consider it a religion.
Oh, I don't know.
When
but
when Bolgg DMs, he's got the Church of Clay.
The Church of Clay.
A religious organization of sex.
people are
They
going to
all
listen
worship
to
in different ways.
This is going to be a weird first episode for anybody that hears this. They're like, I knew these D&D players were degenerates.
Oh God, this is going to be our first explicit episode, isn't it?
Probably. I'm going to have to put a content warning on this one. Oh, but sex, love, and D&D. I think is a great title. I think it's a great topic because we build these relationships in this game, not only with our friends, but you ever wonder how many people have actually met significant others through D&D?
I've known people who have in the past, and again, like we said, we on our regular weekly game, we have people who are playing with their wife on a regular Saturday night, basis.
Yeah, but that's somebody who's already married. You ever wonder how many people actually meet somebody out there? Like,
well, there's a great post I remember seeing on Reddit about this kind of topic, and one post I remember reading said that everybody it was a 4-player group plus the DM. Everybody in his group was single. Now they're a polyamorous relationship amongst all of them.
we just turned it into a giant orgy at the campfire, didn't we?
That's what they did.
Yeah.
So looking at a lot of our group, I mean, you have a lot of established couples that were coming in already amongst, the players and, others, the spouses that don't. But if you look at just how a lot of the people in our group mesh, if you had, more coming in that were single, I don't doubt, anything could have happened.
You just want something to happen with you and that luscious hair, don't you?
Just anything.
Oh, man. You dirty, dirty boy, you. It's just weird because we're going to have on here in the next week, our next official episode. This is just a bonus episode we wanted to throw together with our good friend Baka, the psychology. Maybe we'll have to ask him about that. The professor will be in on this upcoming episode. I just want to shout him out real quick. But I was thinking about that. How many people meet their significant others or just start relationships off the game of D&D? I don't want to always be about sex and just love, but you find you build those connections. We have our group has like a family bond. Some of you guys, honestly, all of you guys are probably closer to me than my normal family because of the amount of time we've spent with each other.
Well, you got to be playing in a game store or a public where you're meeting new people kind of place. If you're playing at home game with people you've known for 20 years, you're probably not developing new relationships. These are, older relationships. But also, it's got to have the appropriate gender, sexuality preferences of the available people.
You hear that, Bolgg? You just can't go out there and make love to the ground again.
Yeah, hey, that's what Bolgg is into, and that's what he's into. We're no kink shaming. We're just saying,
we know what's on your hard drive.
That brings up an entirely different topic is kinks in D&D. Like we had a
gimp.
A gimp. Yeah, we had a gimp. We had a dwarf who followed Bolgg around. And, he would wake up in the morning with a sore asshole. That would be because they were sleeping in the same tent.
Was this your doing there, Baka?
No, that one wasn't me.
No, that was the Boulder.
That was the Boulder.
It was the Boulder.
The Boulder. He gets a free mention on this episode.
He was Vondel the Fondler. So,
Oh, he's I got to get him in here at some point. The Boulder's probably one of our You want to talk about a relationship that was built out of nowhere and has grown to be something that I never saw that one coming. It was the Boulder's relationship with us because when I first met him, he was very shy and outgoing, and then somebody sat him down next to me, and that was the end of it.
Though, the very first campaign he ever played in was with another DM who we haven't really shouted out that much, but he's we'll call him the Air Force guy right now. Because even though we've got the Air Force guy right here in with us, he was in the Air Force actively.
He was Air Force guy.
Yeah.
You can't really say that because you got two Army guys in here, and we're the real
heroes.
brand. Yeah.
Doing all the work out there.
But that first campaign, our group was called the Wankers. You can thank me for that. But he had 3 wish spells. His very last wish spell was that he wanted to be the greatest wanker alive. And DM's like, okay, you just pull him down and start going to town. Also, we had a +8 butt plug that we gave him that made him enamored with my character.
Yeah, this is why we're not allowed to let you guys be free reign anymore. We have to dial it back in. We don't have anybody. We don't have anybody under the age of 18 that plays. I mean, we did, but they were there with adult supervision, as they should have been.
Yeah, both their parents were there when they were, and they are now over 18. They were borderline to begin with.
Yeah.
So we've done.
And they weren't there for this wanker.
No. That was well before their time. That was actually I came in at the end of that campaign. That's when I officially met everybody. That was the one that when we've had James in here. That was when we were in the. I don't remember which level of hell it was, and it was Pride. And I was like, the 2 tanks of the party spent the entire level fighting with each other about who was the better one. It was kind of like a Zoro Sanji kind of vibe. And James's character took off all of his armor, and he's like, I'm going to fight this thing without any armor. I was like, fine, I'm just going to piss all over your armor. So that was a good one. I missed that. That was my first introduction to James.
That campaign was just insane all around.
But those are, these are the relationships you build inside and outside of the campaign. Because look at that. We've been playing together for, 5 years now? Mm-hmm. Something like that. Because I got back from Africa in about 2016. So, yeah, it's been about 5 years. We've all grown. Some of your kids are closer to being nieces and nephews to me than anything else.
I was, Bolgg, the first time you ever played D&D or something equivalent, was that with... me, you, and
the crew.
The crew.
That was
the first time.
That was the one.
So that was when we were all living in the same house. God, 7 people in a fucking house.
It was good times.
Yeah, and that was
like 9, 10
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was back 2009ish because that was when Demon Souls came out. Because we were playing that.
Don't remind me.
I just think about it though, because this is, like I said, this is a Valentine's Day episode. We're talking about sex, love, and D&D. We've got our good buddy Bolgg in here. We're talking about relationships. Too weird to think. I tell you, one of my favorite relationship moments of this entire group. It's not that my best friend who refuses to come on this podcast, even though he probably listens to it, which I hope he does. I tell you, one of my favorite relationship moments was the moment between me and Bolgg's daughter and her biologically blood uncle, Bolgg. I had shown up to, we were having some kind of cookout somewhere, and
it was at
I think it was a birthday party, wasn't it, or something?
Something like that. But Bolgg walked in. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Right in front of you, and you were right behind him.
So what it was Bolgg walked in, and Bolgg's daughter, Nugget, looked up and saw her Bolgg's wife, who hasn't gotten a name yet because she hasn't been on the podcast, and goes, "Aunt, chicken strip," and and is excited to see her. And then she looks at Bolgg and then looks at PC, that's me, and goes, "Uncle PC!" and runs and jumps and hugs me, runs right by Bolgg. Known this person for years, was the first one.
Literally her whole life.
Yeah.
Literally the second person
to hold
her.
And runs right into Uncle PC's arms.
Just to really paint a clear picture here, Bolgg dropped down to one knee and, opened his arm, waiting for that embrace, and she just curved right around him and went to the captain.
You should have got Nuggets Froyo. All right, that's what it was.
It's true.
But these are the relationships you build. D&D is so good about this. And hey, anybody else have anything about relationships before we move on to another topic?
I mean, it's just the stuff you come in, when you're making a character, when you get, hey, let's have this dynamic. Like, what was the one campaign you were the barbarian that was the servant?
No, I wasn't a barbarian. I was a monk. I was the butler. I was butler to my best friend's character, and we even role played. He's like, "I don't want to put on my pants, sir. You have to put on your pants." And we're literally going through the whole motions of him fighting like a toddler, trying to put pants on. I was like, "This is why I should use buttons and not zippers or something." I don't remember. I don't know. I don't have kids, so it's hard for me to tell you.
True.
Yeah, I mean, in our current campaign, currently they're not an item, but I know eventually the dynamic is to be that my wife's character and one of our friends' characters are going to end up together so that they can play either a half-elf or a dwelf.
Ugh.
Abominations.
Yeah, abominations. And the
We got to stop mixing things, right? This
Yeah.
is just not getting.
Well,
not good.
they were told before we started the current campaign that the intention next campaign will be a legacy campaign where they will be descendants of whatever they make in this campaign. So
Aren't they a bunch
plan
of
ahead.
aren't they a bunch of carnies in this
yes,
campaign?
in this campaign they started
so
as carnies.
something inbred.
Yeah.
No
So
offense.
when they were designing their characters and their backgrounds and their plans, they had to keep this in mind. Well, Bolgg's wife and one of our other players both decided that for those future campaign, they wanted to be dwelfs.
Yeah.
Half elf, half dwarf.
How far in the future are we talking?
They haven't been told. I know how
so
far
there's
it's
a
gonna
lot of
be.
there's a lot of inbreeding going on
Yeah.
here. Something kind of like reminiscent of Alabama.
But yeah, they were just told that they will eventually, assuming they survive, be descendants of the characters from this campaign in the next campaign. So when they picked their race, they didn't want to pick something that they didn't want to play again, or at least half of.
I'm glad I didn't submit my character for this campaign, because then I get to come in walking free out there and being whatever I want to be.
Yeah. But yeah, so they from the very beginning plan that eventually those and so when they're doing their role play sessions, that right now they have other than they're like a coworker relationship.
Give me
But
that
during
animal
those
handler's check.
During those relationship role play moments, they slowly will build up over the course of the campaign, with the intentions that they would one day wind up together. And it's entertaining.
Is it?
Yeah.
You just like watching people have those awkward conversations out loud, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
that circles back around to another point, is sexuality, because my character doesn't have that relationship with anybody in the game currently, but she does have an elf that is part of her act that she has sexual relationships with. And that comes down to what I do as a player to prepare for role play in terms of sexuality. I have a chart where I roll on it, and it's got like gender, sex, sexuality, romanticism, that kind of thing. And then
He's the one that has an itinerary for sex night.
Yeah. No, I do not.
I'm glad you have a whole chart that you roll on.
But it makes it so that it's more. You randomize characters more than any of us. So it makes it
I
random.
don't
So I'm
know
not
what
playing
you
the
mean.
same thing over and over. And I'm not just a cisgender, the same character every time. But this one, she's pansexual but aromantic. She's not interested in relationships. But sex is, fun for her. So she's going to do that one way or another, but not have interpersonal relationships.
I don't think you know how sex works.
and now you know why I do the boots on the floor scene.
I'm pretty. Yeah. Thank you for everybody for that one.
Also, apparently, the girl is a masochist. So when she gets cut by my knives, she's getting excited. So the more engaging the performance,
I almost want to
the
hit the
more
sounder to end this episode before I become scarred for listening to it. Well, I do want to go ahead and end this. This was a short episode, so I appreciate everybody who's been tuning into this one. It's a special Valentine's Day episode with our buddy Bacall, who we'll have back. So, thank you for coming in for a short one. That's you.
Is that me?
That is you.
Oh, that's me.
And as always, say goodbye, Bolgg.
goodbye, Bolgg.
And goodbye, Loke.
See ya.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate you listening to Chef Bolgg and the Pirate Captain's Recipes for Everything, featuring Loke the Bard, of course. Make sure you go find us on Facebook to see what old concoctions Bolgg is cooking up in the kitchen. And if you want your emails read, then email us at bolgandpc@gmail.com. And as always, happy adventures. Yarr.
You guys got anyone special?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty special.
No, like a girlfriend, boyfriend, lover?
Nay, I be single myself. Minus a woman here or two, and an octopus now and then.
What do you mean by lover?
Well, birds and the bees, the beast with two backs.
I think I
nuggets
grabbed one of
and-
those by the face once.
You don't have anyone you love?
Oh, well, sure.
Who be that?
Me.
No. What I mean... All right, Bolgg, what the hell be going on over there?
barbecue sauce for that chicken.